Yo, 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 what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. And today I'm coming at you guys with some sauce, man. I got some sauce for you. Always. Actually, always do. I'm showcasing you guys pure Dark Worlds. No danger, no FTK, no mixture. Normally, I do Fabled Dark Worlds, too. Fabled Dark Worlds is like my favorite variant. But I'm coming at you guys with pure Dark Worlds. And this deck, the main inspiration for this deck is actually Brainwashing. Because Brainwashing is actually an insane card. It's really slept on. It's a support that's fairly new that came out not like super recently, but it came out this year. And nobody really experimented or just decided to see what you could do with it. It's really strong. It has powerful interactions in the metagame. And this deck is actually really competitive because of Brainwashing. But without Brainwashing, it's not that competitive. But with Brainwashing, you kind of have just infinite negations. And it's really strong, you guys. There's actually ways where you could set up loops to where you're just constantly disrupting your opponent. So yeah, you guys, I hope that you're going to learn a lot from this video because I have a lot of information and knowledge to drop for you guys. But yeah, we're going to hop into this list. I'm debating. I would play Dangers, but I actually don't have any of the Danger cards like at all. And so to circumvent for that, I play a lot of discard draw spells like outside of just, dealings. So let's hop into the list. We're going to start with the main deck monsters. So we're going to start off with the king of the deck, Mr. Grapha. Absolute must-have 3. The best interactions that this card has in this deck is actually just the bouncing. Because you're actually using this, especially when you get out your bodies like your silvers and your golds. And you just have them. You just link with this in your Fabled Raven into a link 2. And then you bounce gold. And then special this. And then link again. And then you bounce silver and special this and then link again. And you just got those 2 cards back. So you actually plus really heavy. This card actually allows you to manage your resources in a really efficient way, allowing you to reestablish. And also, you can sometimes go break even and -1 for some of your draw cards. And because of Grapha being able to bounce your guys, you can actually plus. There are times that I've actually ended on 6 cards because I looped Grapha 4 or 5 times. And then just use more draw spells to just pitch Grapha and pitch gold and silver and then just keep bouncing them and summoning him. And I'll link climb multiple times. I'll literally summon a link 2 2-3 times and then 3 and then finally 4 and just 4th just probably in on a griffin. It's really strong, you guys. Grapha is really powerful. Obviously he pop cards, but something else that people don't really pay attention to is the Dark Worlds. They all have 2 effects. Now, the first effects are obvious, but the second effects are always overlooked because it's really difficult to set them up. But cards like Brainwashing and Cerulli, the Guru of the Dark Worlds, actually make it really easy to trigger. So we know his first effect is to pop a card on the field, but his second effect, which triggers simultaneously, which is actually a beneficial Crute Mat, is when he's discarded by your opponent's card effect, you not only pop a card on the field, but you also look at a random card in your opponent's hand, and if it's a monster, you special summon it to your side of the field. So this card's an absolute powerhouse. Just so well-rounded. Level 8, beat stick, rank 8s, just link spamming, just really strong card. So yeah, Graph is the king of the deck. Next up, we're rocking 3 copies of gold and 3 copies of silver. Gold and silver are really the MVPs. They're the most powerful cards that you can interact with your Brainwashing. They have the highest impact and they get a lot of work done, and they're never 1-for-1 exchanges. Graph is a 1-for-1 sometimes, but these are normally 1-for-2s, which is really strong. Silva actually has a head loop where you can do it, but the way Brainwashing works is it's very similar to how Dangers are, where your opponent discards a random. So it's kind of there's a chance they can hit, there's a chance they can't. But if you make sure that you manage your resources right with Grapha, at the end of my combos, I'll bounce golds and silvers back to my hand. At the end of my combos, normally all I have in my hands is gold and silver. So it doesn't matter which one they discard. Either way, it's the one that I want. And it's going to summon itself so you can keep looping your Brainwashing. So these are the best cards for your Brainwashing. They have the most powerful interactions. Even going second, if you play Guru in your list, you can just pitch Guru, use Guru, and use his effect, and you can send this guy, and then he'll pop 2 cards and then summon himself. Really broken. Their best effects, all the Dark Worlds, the funny thing is their best effects are when they're discarded by an opponent's effect. But both of them trigger simultaneously, so whenever you loop these off of your Brainwashing, What this one's going to end up doing is he summons himself from grave, but also forces your opponent mandatory. They have to take 2 cards out their hand and put it on the bottom of their deck in any order. But there's no option for it. Like, they have to. It's not like a you can, so it's a mandatory. So, like, the primary effect's a Chain Link 1 no matter what, which is really powerful. Because it's like, when you have multiples occurring, you can always chain block these too. Like, especially if you have the combo interaction set up properly to where your opponent won't be able to negate the Silva. And also, Brainwashing builds chain links on itself, which is crazy. It's just so broken. So, yeah, normally I like to go Silva because it's the most competitive one. Where you negate a monster effect and then rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. And, you know, if you hit this again, it gets summoned again. And then you basically do the same thing. And then you rip 4 cards out their hand. Now, at this point, it's 2 twice. And then you've negated twice. So they really shouldn't be doing anything else. But, yeah, Silva is just incredible. And Gold's really powerful, too. They're both very similar. But Gold is more like for breaking boards. And Silva's to prevent them from committing in the first place. But Gold, what he does is summons himself and then destroys up to 2 cards on the field. But it's still really powerful. Just being able to blow up too is super strong, especially when you're going second. And then we have Triple Snow. You guys know Snow's base effect, but what you guys don't know is she actually is a Monster Reborn if she's pitched by opponent's card effect. And I'm explaining to you guys every one of the Darkworld's other effects because the effects that I use the most in this list are actually the effects when they're discarded by opponent. Because this is Brainwash Turbo. Like, this legit... This whole deck's like sole purpose is just to get out Brainwashing as quick as possible and start looping Brainwashing and getting nasty snowballing effects. So hers is she can special a monster from your opponent's graveyard and then she still searches a Darkworld card. And nothing in this deck is once per turn. There is no Darkworld cards that are once per turn. Everything is, you can use it as many times as you want. You can usually literally search snow off of snow. I love that it's not only not once per turn, but there's no restrictions to it either. Like, deck's really high-key broken. Like, yeah, you guys, people really be sleeping on it. And I've been showcasing Darkworld Fables for a while on my channel, but I really needed to step up my game on the pure. Next up, we have Triple Brow. So Brow is really important, too, because it's very imperative to pair this in cohesion with your draw cards, because a lot of the draw cards are like break-evens. Either they're like break-evens or they're like just like inherent -1s, like how what's it called? Darkworld Dealings is a -1. Like, you play it, you draw 1, so, you know, it seems like something. Well, it's actually more like a break-even, but it's still a -1 because that 1 card that you play, it's out of your hand, then you draw 1, so it replaces itself, but then you discard, so you go to 4 cards in hand. So Brow's really important because it turns cards like Darkworld Dealings into a break-even so that you don't keep minusing, because the goal of the end of the combo sequences is to have 3 or more cards in your hand to meet the requirements for your Brainwashing. So Brow's really important too to make sure that you keep your resources on par. And oftentimes you'll still be able to use Grapha to get a lot of them back to your hand anyways. But it's still really important, and it's not once per turn either. So yeah, just drawing a lot of cards. Like, you can deck out really fast with this deck. You have to be careful. And 2 ugly common beiges. I wish they weren't common, but 2 beiges. Beige is really good too, but I find that it's just not as incredible as silver and gold. And the main point of beige is just so I can loop my Grapha and get more resources back to my hand. So yeah, like, just the discard special abilities just really help. And it's also a normal summonable one that has the discard special ability, so you can normally bounce it and then pitch it and then special it and then link and then just get, it's just crazy advantage. It's so good. This deck can link really, really fast because of Grapha. And the fact he's not once per turn, and because of these cards, because they get special when they're discarded. And then you end up bouncing them back anyway, so you get all your resources back. And then basically the best normal summon of the deck is actually Triple Fabled Raven. Fabled Raven's insane, because he can discard any number of cards that he wants to, right? And that's not a cost. That's his effect. And then he increases his level and his attack by 400 per card. So you can actually make this card a really nice beater because he's already a Fiend, so Gates gives him a boost. And then you pitch, like, Brows. Like, there are times that I've pitched Brow and Snow and then drew and then searched, and then he had, like, 800 extra, so he's 21, plus the Gates made him a 24 beater. So I basically had normal summoned a 24 beater for pressure. And then he is a tuner, so if you want to play Synchros, you can do that. But I actually link with him, like, all the time. Like, I never really... The opportunity to Synchro doesn't really come up because I like to link with him. But because he can modify his level, he opens up a lot of possibilities, like a lot of windows of possibilities for different kinds of synchros because he can modify his level. You can even, going second, instantly just go Black Rose. You can normal him, pitch base, affect the base, special it back, and he's already a level 3, and then you synchro into Black Rose. So, like, you have options. It's really versatile what you can do. But yeah, Raven's incredible. And because like I said, I don't have dangers, so you really need cards that can trigger just discarding by card effect and not by cost. And don't forget, Graph and Silva and Gold are like legitimately like the MVPs. They're like the best cards for the interactions for your Brainwashing. So they're really like they're the cards that you want to search the most. Like, if I have to, I'll search them off of Snow, especially if I already have Brainwashing. Like, I really want to have both of them, but sometimes I'll just literally search off multiple Silvas because I feel like Silva has the strongest interaction with Brainwashing, where you the more Silvas you have, the higher chance you have of pitching another Silva after you resolve the first Brainwashing. Like, there was a Saki hand where I actually ended up having 3 Silvas, and those were my 3. And I had a Gold on field, and then no, it was a Grapha. I had a Grapha on field, and I bounced it, pitched the Silva, effective Silva, to basically rip 2 out their hand, and then negated another card, bounced them back, and then pitched them again, luck sacked, and then took the whole hand. It was just like, this card's crazy. Like, hand looping on your opponent's turn is just insane. So yeah, Gold and Silva, just the MVPs. That's it for the monsters. All the monsters are Darkworlds except for Fabled Raven. So it's still kind of Fabled Darkworlds. 3 copies of Gates. Gates triggers your discards. It doesn't discard for cost. It banishes for cost. So, yeah, you get all your Darkworld effects off of it. 2 copies of Optimus Prime. Man, I really got to see discard effects, like, for reals. I don't have no dangers, so I need to maximize on every card that can discard. Because if you can't discard any cards, your whole hand is dead. Like, everything's bricks. Like, the Darkworlds without any cards that can pair with them to discard are just bricks. So you need Raven, you need stuff like this, you need Drag Downs, you need Dylans, you need as many cards as you can get to discard. I also play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness to filter. It's really good to filter your hands out, especially when you have extra copies of cards that you can't even use right now. Like, where it's like, oh, I can't even resolve this effect, I don't need it. You just swap it out for some better cards. Hopefully draw into more discard cards and keep turboing. So yeah, triple Allure, really, really good. It helps you to just keep up the turbo because you're trying to get out as many Darkworld monsters on the field as possible. So also you can just loop them all back with Grapha, and then you're like, dude, your Brainwashing is gonna have like nothing but targets. It's crazy. And next up, triple Drag Down. Drag Down is actually really skillful, you guys, and it's a competitive spell, especially in this deck, because you can just reveal your whole hand to your opponent, and it doesn't matter because like it's all getting discard and bounce back anyway. So at this point, they already know because you've been looping it with Grapha. But like legitimately, they can look at your hand and it doesn't matter because all the cards that you have are effects that will be beneficial for them to discard. So there's nothing bad that they can discard with this. But when you look at their hand, you just take whatever you want from them. It's just really strong. It's not once per turn. And knowledge and information for what deck you're playing really helps. Because now you know what interactions you're going to have with your Darkworld Brainwashing. And if it's even a good matchup for Brainwashing. So just really strong card, you guys. Really powerful, very competitive spell. Just so good. And then triple Darkworld Dealing. I'm proxying 3 because I actually had got rid of mine. But yeah, you really need to play this in this build. So like, once I get dangers... I'm not gonna lie. I do want to play Dangers in this deck because I just realizing more and more that like I'm prone to playing all these spells that discard just because like I need to trigger my effects. But Dangers would do a so much better job because they'll trigger my discard and then they're like draws and monster presence too. Whereas these spells, yeah, they're discards and they're draws, but they don't commit anything to my field and generate any board presence. They just kind of maintain hand advantage, card economy. And then also because I really need to trigger my discards, I play triple hand destruction. This card's actually really reactive with your Brainwashing because if you bounce your silver or gold or your beige off Brainwashing and then you discard the wrong Darkworld monster to or discard the wrong card in general when you negate the effect of a monster, you can get a second chance with hand destruction because you can pitch your gold and your Grapha, draw 2 fresh cards, and then special them onto the field. And then you have 2 more targets to interact with your Brainwashing. So This is kind of like, I look at it like it's like a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance with Brainwashing. It's really strong, very, very powerful. It's not even once per turn, and, you know, discarding is not a cost. That's the best thing. Discarding is not a cost. So it doesn't matter if this gets Ash Blossom. It doesn't matter if anything. It just doesn't matter if anything is Ash Blossom, because nothing in your deck's once per turn. Like, legit, if you just look all of it, it's all gas, no break. Like, none of your monsters are once per turn, none of your spells are once per turn, except for Desires, and that's why I played at 2. You do need +1s, because like I said, it's all about Brainwashing. You're trying to dedicate and make sure that every single play always ends on the same thing, that you always have 3 or more cards in your hand, because you're going to get to your Brainwashing because you have a ton of draw power. There are times that I've drawn through 3/4 of my deck, and I didn't even need to search this because I drew it, but you're going to get to it no matter what. Like, every first turn, you're going to get to this card. But Desires is important to make sure that you have the proper hand to manage with this, because, like I said, it's like a danger. It's random discard, so if they hit the wrong Darkworld monster, you want to make sure that you have enough so that you can continue using this. And Desires is still just an insane card. Like, every one of your monsters is all at 3, except for Beige. And Beige ain't even that important in the first place. And then for the best card in the deck, you guys, triple Darkworld Brainwashing. This is Brainwashing Turbo. This is a very competitive trap. This card is not once per turn. So basically, whenever your opponent activates a monster effect, this is the cost. Target a Darkworld monster on the field for cost. So similar to Lycoris, multiple of these can resolve by targeting the same Darkworld monster. So for example, if you use this to negate their monster effect and they go Chain Ghost Ogre, you can build Chain Links on itself, or you can use the second one to target the same Darkworld monster. And the reason why chaining the second one will be more beneficial, because both of them will resolve, the Darkworld monster will be bounced, and then you get to discard 2 randoms, so you get multiple effects of Darkworld monsters occurring, and then you can get like Rip 2 out their hand, Pop 2 is just really powerful. But the best thing is this is not once per turn. But yeah, it negates monster effects and then changes the monster effects text to discard a random card from your opponent's hand, which is just so powerful. And that applies to me. So any monster effect they activate becomes, they make me discard. So it is my opponent is actually doing it. It's my opponent's monster's effect is discarding my card. So all my Dark Worlds get every effect they need. This card is so good. I'm so glad that we have it. Because Ceruli the Guru is nice, but I don't like giving my opponent a free monster to link with just so I can trigger my effects. So I just think Brainwashing is the way to go. It's such a powerful trap. It's legitimately like the reason why you can even play pure Dark Worlds and it can still be competitive. So yeah, that's the list. It should be 42 cards. 42 with the Beiges, 40 without them. Really powerful deck though. I love this deck a lot. I think that it has some really high ceiling in specific matchups where monsters are prevalent. Like decks that allow monster effects like Gokis, Dangers, Darkworld Dangers, you know, Dark Warriors, Cyber Dragons, shoot, I mean like Herald of Perfection. I mean, dang, everything that's not basically Altergeist and Sky Strikers really are dominant with monster effects and rely heavily on monster effects. And the fact that you have infinite negates is just really nice to me. Because if you play it right, skillfully, if you're skillful with this deck, you can set this up to where you always can negate no matter what. Like, you constantly negate. Like, it's crazy. So you can actually have infinite monster negates off of this one trap. And because it doesn't cause you to lose steam, it actually bounces the card back. And then you pitch. No matter what, you'll always have the requirement of 3 or more in your hand because it continues to bounce it and you pitch. And as long as you're hitting the right Darkworld monsters, the one that summons themselves, you can just keep looping this same trap. It's really skillful. For our extra deck, we have Firewall, Griffin, and Topo. Topo's probably MVP because discards for Topo are not a cost. So you can actually do Topo turn 1 because of the Grapha loop, which is insane. Grapha is so nice. And then you can still summon a guy in this zone, and then you get to discard a couple things because that's a card effect, and then you get some more guys out on the field. Your opponent discards 2. That's great because that helps because you're trying to hand loop with Silva, and then you bounce 1, summon Grapha, you know, bounce another one, summon the second Grapha, link in again, and just you end up summoning. There are times where I've summoned 2 Link 4s because I did the Gumblar combo, rip 2, and then they rip 2. And then I ended up linking with Grapha and Gumblar into a basic Link 2 starting all over like Underclock. And then bounce another guy, summon Grapha, linked into a Link 3. And then summon the guy. and then linked in, and then bounced it and then summoned Grapha, and then linked into another link for it, and then ended on Griffin, and then used didn't use Griffin's effect, but just used him as just another way to have kind of like a pseudo floodgate on my opponent. Like, it gives them the zone, don't get me wrong, but they have to commit the resources to make the link monster in order to get their special summon monster effects to resolve. So yeah, it's really good. I like it. It's really nice to have. And then Firewall's pretty dope because if your combo goes uninterrupted turn 1, turn 2, you can start building up your own link build, doing your own link board. Like, you can start getting stuff co-linked. It's not like you extra link, but you just start doing a lot of link plays. So yeah, the 3 link force. We have Summon Sork. You can even end on Topologic. That's something I thought about, was Topologic Bomber Dragon, because Brainwashing causes you to summon monsters your opponent's turn, and it's really easy to make a link for that requires just 2+ monsters because of the Grapha loop. But I was just like, I don't want to kill my guy because I actually want to be able to bounce him back with Brainwashing so I can summon him again. But then we have Summon Sork, just so easy to make in the deck. And what you really want to do with Summon Sork is just get out another target for your Grapha, or get your Grapha out itself if you don't already have it. Get it engraved and you can just start looping. Really strong card. And then we have 1 copy of Unicorn. We have 1 Trishbania. Trishbania is really strong because this actually I feel is more important than Gumblar. I'm sorry, not Gumblar, than Bomber, because this deck really loses hard to back row. So you just really need to be able to Trishbania them after you're Brainwashing them, and then Trishbanian them. You should be able to just kill them next turn. Then we have 1 copy of Wee Witch's Apprentice. And then the MVP link to is Master King Archfiend. This card is insane. Like, it does so much for the deck. So you got to understand these effects. So once per turn during your standby, pay 500 life points to destroy this card. Once per chain, if you pay life points, except during the damage step, send 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard with attack or defense equal to the amount paid. Now, don't get me wrong. The ones that I'm playing right now don't meet that criteria. But Guru and the other Darkworlds that I'm going to show you that nobody plays do. But that effect is not relevant. What is relevant is the nest effect that triggers, which is once per chain, if a Fiend monster is sent to your graveyard, you can roll a 6-sided die. Apply this effect on one of those monsters based on the result. So if you roll a 1, add that monster to hand. That's clutch because, like, when you discard to draw, a Fiend monster gets sent to the graveyard because it says a Fiend monster sent to the graveyard, not sent from your field, but sent to the graveyard. So every time you do a discard spell, you actually get to do this effect because it's once per chain. So when you do this card, turn 1, you actually build up a lot of resources. That's why I like it. It's really insane. You can plus super heavy because every time you pitch a Darkworld, you trigger his effect and you roll a die. So even if you don't get the right number the first time, you get a lot of chances. And then if you roll a 2, 3, 4, or 5, you shuffle that monster into the deck. So that's not always that great, but it also helps so that you can keep your resources on par. And if you roll a 6, you get to special summon it. So 1 or 6 are what you want. 1, you want to add it to your hand, which is busted, so you can plus. 6, you want to special summon it. And because you only have those 2 options, it's really nice that his effect is not once per turn. So every time you're discarding and doing any spell that discards and draws, you get a Fiend engraved, you get his effect, you roll a die, and you just keep trying until you get it right. And if you're lucky enough and you get it right multiple times, you plus really hard. So yeah, Master King is like low-key the best link to for this deck. And all he requires is 2 Fiends. Some little nightmares. Discarding for these is a cost. I read it. It has a semicolon. So like basically, what you want to do is you want to discard Grapha with these, but not get his effect off because it won't work. But you want to get Grapha in the grave so that you can summon your guys. So if you already have the other guys on field, you can summon one of these because Grapha like bounces them to hand and then summons itself. But if you have a Grapha in hand and you don't have the loop set up, you can summon these to start the loop, pitch Grapha engrave. And even though he doesn't get his effect engraved to pop, then you can start bouncing all your Darkworld monsters and summoning Grapha. And then you can start link climbing, which is really nice. And then we have Underclock, Akashic Magician, too easy to make. And Akashic is really important. So you have removal that doesn't destroy. And then the Mermaid, because sometimes I will turn 1, have to summon one of my Nightmare guys just to turn him into Mermaid. And it really helps because you need to link climb and start all over and link climb and start all over all the time. And then sometimes you just need the down pointing arrow so that you can actually get co-linked action and draw. So like I'll turn a guy into mermaid, and then I'll do a small link 2 under here, like Cerberus or Phoenix, and then I get to pitch and then draw, which is really important. Like when you can continue filtering through your deck and cycling. And even though they don't get their effects, the fact is that you still get to draw, and then you can start building your board. So I just still play the Mermaid because it's really good. Then we have Titanic Galaxy and Volcasaurus for the 2 XYZs for the deck. Volk is really strong, especially for intermatch procedures. And I felt like it was just the best generic rank 5. I mean, I thought of Durindal. Trust me, I thought of Durindal. I thought of Zen Mayo. I thought of like Tyrus, and also Adrius, the Armageddon, and then Tyrus, the Keeper of Genesis. And then I was like, but what's something that could win me the game in a match procedures? Because I don't have a way to burn, so I felt that Volk was the right call. Because if time ever gets called and you can make a Volk, you could just do it. Because you can spam those level 5 guys. And then Titanic's pretty easy to make, and I just want to negate. You want some interactions. Because the main point of this deck is to either hand loop your opponent, disrupt everything they do, just infinite negate monsters effects, or you just start building crazy boards in OTK. So this deck can win in more ways than just one. It's really decent. I like it. And now I'm going to show you guys Darkworld monsters that nobody even knows exists. I've never seen these been played before, like ever. And these are really good for side decking for going second, because these have effects that are mandatory that you don't have a choice to resolve, and they don't target. So what Grin does is it destroys a spell or trap on the field, doesn't target. And what Cocky does is he destroys a monster on the field but doesn't target. And you know something else? These meet the criteria for your Master King Archfiend, which is really cool. So yeah, really great cards in general. Because what can happen is Master King Archfiend can pitch this during the standby, and you trigger his other effect to roll a die. And if you get lucky, you add it to your hand, and then you can pitch it and then pop some more cards. But basically, these are kind of like your infantry and marksmen, like how Mermils have. And these are searchable too, so you just pitch these and then you just blow fields up. So going second, you just break boards with these, and then you trigger gold and use gold's effect, pop 2 more cards. Like, these are really strong, and I don't understand why Darkworld players don't play these, but these are just really good. And the reason why is because nobody even knows about these, but I'm gonna educate y'all a little bit on them. And then we got Snipe Hunter, which is another great card, not once per turn, no discarding for cost, and you can just pop as many cards as possible. Ideally, you want to be pitching these with him so that you can just break boards even quicker. But yeah, just some cards that you can keep in mind for going second. Because as you guys can clearly tell that this deck is really built for going first, and it wants to go first. So I wanted to show you guys some really cool cards that are actually part of the archetype and really cohesive with the playstyle and have synergy that you can use for going second. So yeah, recommend get 3 of each of these because they're really cheap, and just nobody plays them because nobody knows. But now that you've seen the video, I'm sure a lot more people will start playing them. And, you know, they got it from me. So God bless you guys. I really appreciate you for taking time out of your day to watch my content. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're a fan of Darkworlds, you're probably going to like this. But yeah, sorry that there's no dangers in it. But I just really wanted to showcase, you know, that pure Darkworld is still viable. You know, it's still a good deck too. It's not like insanely tier 1 material, but it's still really good. It actually is competitive because of Brainwashing. If not for Brainwashing, it just wouldn't be competitive. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, I appreciate it very much. But it's time for me to get some sleep. Peace.